Hey guys, Michael and Sean here with the Midwest Competition Shooting Team, and this is part one of our video series explaining to new shooters how to get involved in three-gun competition.
So the first thing you want to do is find a local club match near where you live. Now, there's a couple places you can do this. There's a few different Facebook groups that are dedicated to listing of local club matches. Then there's also Brian Enos. This is a forum that's dedicated to shooting, and there's a couple different threads on there for match listings, and there's one specifically for three-gun. And then also there's Practice Score, where you most likely, a lot of the places you're going to go is going to use Practice Score for the sign-up, payment, and the actual scores of the match.
So once you've decided on the match you want to shoot, you're going to have to get signed up. Some matches do on-site registration the day of the match, and others have an online pre-registration via Practice Score where you can sign up, pay, and squad ahead of time.
Alright guys, so you found a match that you want to go to. Now you got to decide which division you're going to sign up for. So there's three basic divisions: Open, Tactical Optics, and Tactical Irons. Now we're going to show you the differences in equipment on those three divisions. We're going to start out with Tactical Irons. So your basic shotgun, any kind of semi-auto or pump action will be fine. The main things that you're not going to allow to be able to use is you won't be able to have any kind of optic on the shotgun. You're going to be able to use true iron sights or a bead. And then you can't have any kind of ported barrel or ported choke. Those would be considered a compensated barrel. Now, the tube capacity, most matches you go to will allow you to have a longer tube. You just can't start with more than 9 total in the gun. So that would be an 8 in the tube, 1 in the chamber.
Detachable box mag shotguns are also not allowed in this class, as well as any device that facilitates loading of the shotgun, meaning anything that allows you to put shells in the gun without using your hands. The Tactical Irons pistol restricts you to iron sights only, no compensators, no factory ported barrels, and depending on the match, you'll have to have a maximum of either 10 or 15 rounds in the handgun.
So the rifle setup for Tactical Irons is true iron sights or a non-magnified optic. So that would be a red dot, a prism. As long as it has no magnification, is a true 1 power, then you can use that. Everything else pretty much is this what you would see in a modern sporting rifle. You're just only allowed to use a non-magnified optic.
Some matches will allow you to use a non-magnified optic in conjunction with either offset iron sights or co-witnessing iron sights. Some matches will require those to be removed, and some of them will require those to be zip tied down. Again, that's going to be dependent on the individual rule set of your match.
So the next division we're going to talk about is Tactical Optics, which has very similar rules to Tactical Irons. Your main difference is going to be you're allowed to use a magnified optic on your rifle. So we're using a 1:6, and then we have offset irons. So you can have just one optic, and you can have whatever magnification you want. Most guys will use a 1:6, but you can use a 3:9, or you can use a 4:16 if you really feel like it. And then a lot of guys will use offset irons along with this. So you're not allowed 2 optics. You're just allowed the 1, but you can have iron sights along with that optic.
The Tactical Optics class handgun is very similar to the limited class handgun, with the exception of the magazine can be run to full capacity. The only restriction on the magazine size is the overall length for a double stack magazine cannot exceed 140 millimeters.
So that's going to be basically your standard magazine that comes with, your Glock or your M&P or a Tanfoglio. The magazine that comes with it, with what you would consider a basic extension, that is going to be 140 millimeters. So next we're going to talk about the shotgun. Again, this is going to be similar to your Tactical Irons. No ported barrel, no ported chokes, no optics, no feeding devices. And again, you're going to be at 8+1 in capacity on the start. But after the buzzer goes off, you are allowed to load up a longer tube if you have a longer tube and you have the capacity for it. Again, only tube-fed shotguns are allowed. No box-fed are allowed in this division. What we'll talk about is the open division, which basically means if you have it, most likely you can run it. So in the rifle setup, you're allowed any kind of supporting device. So you can use a bipod, you can use a rear bag, anything that you want to be able to bring to support your rifle and give you a better stable position is allowed. You're allowed a drum magazine or a higher capacity if you feel like you want to use one of those. And then the other difference is you're allowed multiple optics on the rifle. So you can run a little bit more magnification if you want, and then have a red dot on the side. That would be legal for your open setup on the rifle.
The open division shotgun can either be a traditional tube fed style like this, which will usually be used in conjunction with a feed ramp and speed loaders, or it can be a box mag fed style. Optics are allowed on the shotgun and open, as well as compensators, ported barrels, or ported chokes, and you can use the maximum capacity of the gun from the start. Meaning if you have a 16 round tube, you can load that all the way up, or with a box fed shotgun, you can have as many as 28 rounds or whatever the capacity of the magazine is.
So in an open pistol, you're allowed an optic and a compensator. Now this barrel doesn't have a compensator on it, but that's basically the two differences that you're going to find between a standard pistol division and the open division. Is your compensated barrel and your optic. Along with that is going to be higher magazine capacity. So this would be your standard magazine that you would see in tactical irons or optics, and then this is going to be your open length that you would use. So this one holds about 29, and this one's about 23. So you get. All right, guys. So we shared with you the three different divisions, but now we want to actually show you the gear that's used and where you can actually find it and what they're actually called. So when both of us started, it was really difficult knowing where to find the different shotgun tubes and what they're called and what companies are making them. So in your standard shotgun, it comes with 2 or 3 from the factory. Obviously, you're going to want to put a longer tube on it so that you can hold more for the match. This particular one that's on here is from Nordic Components. They do sell different links and they do sell couplers. So if you're shooting different divisions, you're going to different matches, sometimes they'll limit how long your total tube is. Well, you can actually run a couple different links and actually couple them together to get the links you want. The Nordic Components also sells the springs. Obviously you're going to need longer than your short spring. You're going to need a 4-foot spring to put in here. So there's a couple different companies that are making them. Like I said, this one was Nordic Components. This one is from TACCOM. And then they also, X-Rail is also making it too.
One of the most important pieces of 3-gun gear is the shotgun shell caddy. Reloading the shotgun eats up a ton of time on the clock, so you really want to minimize that by having a piece of equipment that holds your shotgun shells in a manner that you're going to be able to get a hold of them quickly and get them into the gun. This is an 8-round caddy made by a company called TACCOM. Sean also has an 8-round and a 12-round, and they also make chest rigs if you need more capacity. I have seen shotgun stages with as many as 60 rounds required, so you might need some combination of all of these pieces of equipment to get through the stage. There's also 2 other companies that are big players in that market, Carbon Arms and Invictus Practical.
So you have your guns, you have your gear, you found the match you want to go to, you've shown it the morning of. Now I'd like to talk to you about the proper procedure of transporting your guns from your vehicle to the shooting bay. Now there's basically 2 ways to do this. There's you can get like a large bag. This is one here that holds both long guns and a pistol. You can get some type of a large bag that you can put your gear in that you can carry down, or you can get some type of a cart or like a jogging stroller that has holders on it for long guns. It'd be basically the same thing you put on a 4-wheeler if you go hunting, or some type of like a pull-behind wagon that you can put all your stuff in. That'd be the basic 2 ways that you would get your stuff to the base. Now what I'd like to talk to you is about the gun handling and what's expected and what's accepted and what's not. So I recommend when you're packing up all your gear at home to get some chamber flags. So this is my pistol caliber carbine. This is a chamber flag that indicates that the chamber is completely empty, it's on safe, and there's obviously no magazine inserted. So when you're packing up all your guns, I recommend for your rifle and your shotgun having a chamber flag and then put them in your bags to go ahead and transport them to the match. Now then, let's just say you've got your bag. You carry your bag down to the bay and you're going to find a place. There should be a wooden rack where everybody's going to be putting their rifles. So you can kind of stand back for a second, kind of make sure that it's where everybody's pre-staged and everything. You can ask the RO, you can ask somebody that looks like they know what they're doing. And keep that chamber flag in the gun when you pull it out of your bag and you put it in that cart. There should be also a table where everybody's going to be putting all their shotguns and laying them out. Again, I recommend keeping that chamber flag in the shotgun when you're carrying it out and you're putting it down. Now, remember when you're handling all your guns, all the same, gun handling rules apply. Don't point at anybody, treat it like it's loaded even though there's a chamber flag in it, and stage them where everybody else is putting theirs. Now, the pistol is where a lot of people don't think about. Now, there should be some type of a safety area. There may not be one at every single bay, but there should be several throughout the match, throughout the shooting venue. If you don't see any, you can ask an RO. They should point you in the right direction. You're going to want to find the safety area, and you're going to want to take your pistol. Now, you can have, pistol boxes that came in when you bought it new. If you're taking a bag, a large 3-gun bag, you can just carry that bag down to that safety area. But you're going to want to go to that safety area, and you're going to want to face the berm. It's always going to be faced up against the berm where it's got a big pile of dirt, just like where you're shooting. You're going to open that box or open your bag. You're going to pull the pistol out. While you're facing that berm, you're going to pull it out and you're going to holster the pistol. Now, if you have any kind of hammer-fired gun, whether it's a 1911, 2011, SIG 226, Tanfoglio, anything like that that has an external hammer on it, you're going to want to make sure that that hammer is forward and that you have no magazine in the mag well. Now, even if it's an empty magazine, that doesn't matter. You want it in your holster with no magazine. Now, once you've holstered your gun, then you're free to walk around and do whatever. Now, under no circumstance do you pull that gun out of the holster unless you're at that safety area facing that dirt berm, or the RO's instructed you to make ready because you're going to start your course of fire. Now, those are basically the correct way to handle your guns from your vehicle to the bays of where you're shooting. If you have any other questions, this is a very helpful sport. Everybody that's there will be able to help you out if you have any questions. So now we're going to show you what you can expect when you actually walk up to the line for your course of fire.
When it's your turn to shoot, once the previous shooter has cleared all their firearms and all the targets have been reset and the range is clear, the RO will call you to the line. Next shooter, Sean Alexi. It's good etiquette to always be prepared so that when your name is called, you can approach the line with all 3 guns. At this point, everything should still be unloaded and you will load under the direction of the range officer. I'll hold your rifle. Take a sight picture with your shotgun if you would like. Load and make ready. Take a sight picture with your rifle. Load and make ready. Alright, take a sight picture with your pistol. Load and make ready. I recommend always taking a sight picture before loading with all 3 firearms because that gives you a good chance to check if anything has happened to your sights. Either a sight could have become dislodged, your illumination could be turned off, which is especially important if you're shooting a dot, your magnification on your rifle could be set at the wrong level, or you could have a scope cap closed. So that just gives you a chance to check for all 3 of those things. Once all your guns are loaded, the RO will give you the command to begin firing.
Eyes and ears?
Shooter, do you understand the course of fire?
Yes.
Give me a nod when ready.
Ready?
Shooter is ready. Stand by. If you're finished, unload and show clear. If clear, slide down, hammer down, hold. Unload and show clear with the rifle. Flag it. Rifle is clear. Unload and show clear with the shotgun. Shotgun is clear. Flag it. Range is clear. At this point, the range is clear, and if you're not the shooter, you may proceed downrange to reset the target. When unloading and showing clear, it's important not to rely on the RO to tell you your firearm is clear. You always want to double check that yourself before dropping the hammer, because if the RO is wrong and there is a round in the chamber and you discharge it, you're the one that's going to get DQ'd. Also, in some matches, the ROs will come behind you and clear your abandoned firearms, and they might hand them back to you and say hammer down with the slide forward and tell you that it's unloaded. You always want to verify that before you pull the trigger and drop the hammer.
So when you're going through those show clear commands, do it slowly and actually check, do exactly what he says. He says unload, he says show clear, he says hammer down. So you want to actually make sure that you're doing those very slowly and actually checking and making sure the gun is completely empty yourself. We've seen many people that try to do it quickly, they don't get that round ejected from the chamber, and then when they hammer down, they fire one off into the bay and they get disqualified. I've seen pro shooters, people that have been on TV, have done this at matches. So slow down, make sure the gun's empty yourself, and then actually clear it.
And one other thing, especially with the pistol, this goes for all 3 guns, but especially with the pistol, once you're finished shooting, if you're unhappy with your performance, make sure you don't show your frustration by dropping your gun like this and sweeping backwards, because that's something that gets a lot of people DQ'd also. So you just be calm, mind your muzzle, and reholster. If you're starting the course of fire with a long gun, there's 2 typical positions that the RO will instruct you to start in. The first being port arms, which will be the butt of the gun touching your belt and the muzzle in the air at approximately a 45-degree angle. The second position will be the low ready, which is the gun shouldered, pointing at the ground at approximately a 45-degree angle, and it is your decision whether you want to have your cheek weld already established, lined up with the sights, or if you want to have your head up looking at the target.
So the next thing you're going to want to know is the rules and procedures that are going to be expected of you during the course of fire. So the first one would be the 180 rule, which most people are familiar with, which basically is 180 degrees of the shooting bay. So if you're facing downrange, 90 degrees each direction would be that 180 rule, which means you can engage targets all the way up to 90 degrees of downrange. You just can't go past 91 degrees.
Most shooting areas are marked with some sort of either sticks or stakes or a rope fault line on the ground, or a marked box dictating where you stand to engage a set of targets. Both feet must be within the shooting area for every shot taken, or you'll incur a procedural penalty. Some matches will also say that if you're to step outside of the shooting area and cut across in order to gain an advantage, that would also be a procedural, but that's going to be different at every match.
So just play it safe, stay inside the shooting area all the time, and you'll be fine. Now the shooting area is going to be pretty determined. There's going to be either some sticks on the ground that are staked down, there's going to be a raised rope that's around stakes, or it'll be spray painted. You'll definitely be able to know where that shooting area is. The next thing we're going to talk about is walls that you're going to see in the shooting area, within the base. A lot of them will be configured similar to this. They'll be about 6 to 7 feet tall, and they will be open at the bottom. Now a general rule for all walls is that they go to infinity. Now that's straight up and straight down, which means if you were to be 8 feet, you couldn't shoot over the wall and gain an advantage over everyone else. But at the same time, even though it's open underneath, you're not allowed to shoot under the wall. Now there will be times when you're doing the walkthrough and the RO will say that this set of targets are to be engaged under this area, but if he does not tell you that they have to be shot from there, the general rule of thumb is that they cannot be shot from underneath the wall.
Any dump barrel that's located, or barrel that's a stage prop that's located inside the shooting area, can generally be used as a support to shoot off of. But any stage prop that is outside of the shooting area may not be used as a support.
So just kind of a reminder for you, if you are deciding to brace off of a barrel or a tire or anything that is a stage prop inside your shooting area, if you're deciding to brace off of it for support, just be aware of where your muzzle is. Remember that if you're using an optic, that's 2 to 3 inches above where your bore's at. So even though you can see the target clearly, where your bullet impacting may be much lower and you may be hitting the barrel or the tire that you're bracing off of. So just be aware of that. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed our video. I know this sport can look intimidating from the outside, but trust me, it's really not that bad. So find a match local to you, come out, make some friends, bring a buddy. I think you're really going to enjoy it. See you on the range.